Hello and welcome to the Nerds at Large Spoilercast for Arcane. I'm one of your hosts, Darby Hellman,
I'm Jeff Mayo.
and we are joined by a very special guest, Mora of the Coven. How you doing?
Uh, did it just cut out? Hey,
Could you hear
did it
us?
just cut out? Well, you cut out as soon as you said we're joined by a special guest. But
No.
hello,
We're getting hacked.
I
I
guess-
About to get
hey,
us.
I'm Mora of the Coven. You can just call me Mora, and yeah, just here with some friends to talk about Arcane. A good show, actually.
What? Believe it or not.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, we're here to be positive? I'm gone.
Oh well, dang. Positivity in League of Legends? I can't have this.
Ooh, true, actually.
None of my MOBA.
No, I agree, and we are going to go into full spoilers. I think sometimes we do a spoiler-free thing. I think we can all three say we recommend the show. Go watch the show.
Yeah.
It's on
It's
Netflix.
it's a great show. If you want to watch it, just you don't have to play League. Thank God,
No.
that's the best part. You don't have to play League. You can just watch the show. So yeah, definitely recommend just giving it a gander. You I think it's got a little something for everybody. To be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I think whether you're interested in it or not, I think I would recommend this to like pretty much anyone if you just are interested in any like sci-fi, fantasy, anything.
Unless you're one of those weirdos that just don't like animated things and think it's for children by default. Then you may not like
Even
it.
that person, I say watch this because this animation might like steer you otherwise. Because goddamn, it's good. It's super good. So from this point onwards, full spoilers. Make sure you've watched all 3 acts of Arcane before you listen to us talk about this. So with that being said, let's just go around. What did everyone think overall? It's kind of interesting here because we have Jeff who doesn't play League at all. I actually just last night for like the first real time got him to play several matches. So I've tainted him now. You have me who's been playing for like a year and a half, but prior to that I knew nothing, and I've like read a little bit of the lore, like mostly just on the League of Legends universe site. I've like read some of the short stories for characters I like, but I honestly still don't know a whole lot. So we have me, and then we have you, who it seems like knows a lot more about the like comics and everything else.
Yes, unfortunately, I've been playing League since whenever Echo first dropped, so around 2014, 2015. So that's about like 5 or 6 years that I've been at it. And during all that time, I was around for right before the beginning of the lore retcon and all that shenanigans, and as they've been getting everything together. So we've been here for a minute. We've definitely been introduced to the world of Runeterra for a minute or two on my end.
Oh, awesome, Jeff. I want to start with you, just as the newcomer. How was this to you?
I thought it was really good. Like Morris said, this is good for any League experience. If you know nothing about it, if you know a lot about it, it seems like it's really good. It introduces everything. And since this is just a small part of as Runeterra, the Leagueverse, kind of gets you in there, learn about these characters and stuff. Obviously, there are direct nods to League stuff, which is obviously fine, but
Yeah.
it's really good. The characters are all really interesting, and of course, like you said, Darby, the animation,
It's crazy.
good stuff. You see why this took 6 years?
Yeah, it feels more like a movie almost, like the quality of animation, some of these other things.
Yeah, I mean, it did because they set it up in 3 acts with the whole 3 episodes a week thing. Kind of felt like a trilogy of movies in a way.
For sure. And yeah, I love the way the acts were split up like that. We'll definitely get to that. But I totally agree. It's like, it's one of those things that kind of reminds me of almost like MCU movies where it was something that I don't think that, I mean, there were some surprises, but I think overall you kind of knew where the story was going, where these character arcs were going in the broad sense. But the way that you got there and the acting and everything else, like just the characters and how they developed, were like really, really well done. Like a lot more. I expected to like this, but I expected there to be some corniness, some campiness to it or whatever. But it's like, no, I think legit these characters were just really well thought out, really well developed. And even when these arcs kind of ended in the place where I thought they would, it just like they just stuck the landing so much. They just did it really, really well. So I found myself really caring about them. So yeah, that's why this has me so excited about the fact that League of Legends seems to be expanding. There's games being announced left and right. There's Ruin King that I'm like just started. All of this, like, this seems like such a awesome, like, you know, let's push to the next level as far as like expanding this out. And yeah, I think it was really, really well done. Yeah, what did you think?
Honestly, I was surprised. Some of the writing for League has been not the best. As I said, I've been here for almost a decade, but some of the writing and the lore and the things they've done have not been the best. So I was thoroughly surprised that they actually wrote something as well as this, and they stuck the landing with it. I mean, obviously they took their time to get things right, and even with some of the like lore discrepancies here or there with I mean they basically just like loopholed things here or there in order to make it work. And it's a very solid watch, very entertaining. The characters, the plot, the pacing, all that and then some. It's definitely giving what it is that they wanted to give. So nothing to really knock on that end outside of that, but definitely did blow past my expectations initially. I can't say that.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, like, I'm interested to know, were the changes that they made, was it like big lore changes from what they did before? Or was it just kind of moving a few things around?
It was, well, with how they've had some of the lore with some of their characters, like particularly Echo. They had him with like he had parents or whatever. I don't believe Echo was initially orphaned like Vi and Jinx or Powder, whatever were. I don't believe that he was initially orphaned. I don't believe that he had I can't remember the guy's name who died. But I don't believe he had him in his not Vander, Vander's
the
friend.
guy who died early on, the
other one,
Gotcha.
the other one who Echo was staying in a shop with. I don't think he was in Echo's backstory, anything like that. Like, but it's so the things about it are so minor in what they changed, and they basically left a lot of it like open ended and whatnot as well, so that it doesn't really matter all that much because it still serves the greater narrative as a whole. And I'm pretty sure that anybody could like forgive it for doing that. I mean, because they might have done what we weren't expecting them to do, or they might have messed around with things that we weren't really expecting them to mess around with. But I mean, it served the greater narrative, and it didn't flop. So, you know, it's a win. It's positive.
Yeah, from what I've seen lore-wise, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like I saw some people post like apparently Vi in the lore gets amnesia at some point, and that's how she becomes an enforcer. It feels
no.
Okay. People lied.
No, they that's some wishful fulfillment there, but no, they did change up Vi's story initially because she was just some girl who she led her crew on a bad thingamajig and a bad mission, and then she disappeared after she got caught, and then she came back up and she was next to Caitlyn's side as sometimes enforcer, sometimes rabble rouser.
Gotcha.
But now it's basically just like, yeah, she was always there. Surprise, Powder's her sister, or Jinx is her sister. Wow. And she's lesbian. She's big lesbians with Caitlyn. Wow.
Big lesbian. Big gay energy in this show, and I appreciate it.
But yeah, like no. And like I say, it was a very minuscule, very like open-ended changes that they had put into the show that didn't necessarily take away from it as a whole. And that's the best way to change things. It's a retcon, I guess, but it's not like a disruptive one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And at least from the little bit I knew, I was watching with someone who like knew nothing at all about League of Legends, and like I would like kind of point out like, oh, okay, they just did a little reference to a character, like, oh, he's a playable character, she's a whatever. But like, I expected it to be a lot more like kind of in your face, like, look, here's this item, here's this thing. He's like, oh, look at all the leagues shit.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a ward. Like, what? You know, like I expected a lot of
that'll come
arbitrary things. But like, I think they did it. They did more than enough for me to kind of pop off on like, oh hey, there's that like, oh there's Timo on the page that they're flipping,
Yeah.
and there's Timo drawing a Timo. Little things like that was very cool, but it never felt like it was. It felt natural in the world. It never felt like they were forcing League references in here to where like someone would be confused or it would be kind of weird. You know, I think they did that part of it very well.
Yeah, well, and something kind of related to that is, as someone who didn't really know anything about League going into this, as far as like overall who the champions were, I knew like Vi and Jinx and the stuff like that were characters, but it was kind of interesting and fun to like, okay, who is a playable character? What is a reference and all that kind of stuff? Like if, you know, not knowing about it, I would have thought, oh, Silco and Vander are probably, we'll get to Vander, but Silco was playable. It's like, oh no, the one character where it was like, oh, you're definitely playable is Victor's introduction.
Yeah,
when he kind of did his head up and said Victor the way he did, it's like, oh, you're playable.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be kind of like, oh, to League players. Not saying it was bad, but
yeah, that was definitely one of the few moments where come out of the darkness and just say your name. It's like, okay. It's like, yeah.
All right. Yeah. No, I agree. It is nice to see who would be and who wouldn't be like a playable character. I'm hoping that we actually do get a person or two from the Arcane show to show up. Obviously, we're rooting for Mel here on my end, but I mean, her mother, I would love if her mother showed up as a playable character. I think that'd be fairly interesting. Who else?
Well, I was thinking Silco in the beginning, but by the end of it, when he died and he didn't do anything combat related, it's like, okay, probably not Silco. But I agree with you with Mel and her mother 100%. And based on the ending, I can see Mel coming at some point. Maybe after season 2, depending what happens. But I think at some point, pretty good chance.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Mel might be like the next character like now this year, but the fact that they never revealed any actual powers and stuff from her makes me think like, okay, that's probably going to be like further down the line.
And kind of selfishly, I kind of hope they don't make her a playable character because it'd be more fun to get it like during the show and then they make her a playable character. Like just kind of wait on it. Yeah. Because I want her in.
They did say something about, what did they say? About their champion roadmap or something like that. I don't really read them all that much, but they said it's going to be somebody who's a support in there or who can support and they're like very manipulative and yada yada yee. I didn't read it. I need to find it and read it and see and be like, oh yeah, this is they're definitely talking about Mel, but it might just be another red herring. You never know. Yeah. If she does make it into the game, I mean, we obviously know what's going to happen on my end, but if she doesn't, all is well. All is well. Yeah.
Well, I'm kind of just jumping on a random thing because you mentioned Silco. I feel like I have to talk about that because like he was by far my favorite character in this whole thing.
Oh, he was great. Yeah. He was absolutely great. We can talk about Jinx being a catalyst for a lot of the shenanigans that were going on in Arcane as much as we want to, but everything was legitimately orchestrated through and by Silco. Like not one single thing didn't go through him, well, through Jinx as well, because he was at the back end of it all, and it was very interesting to watch him sit in the back and like play up things and like take advantage of people here, there, everywhere. I mean, it was great. So yeah, he's definitely a very strong contender of a character that I like.
Yeah, and he like I actually think it showed very good restraint from the writers to not give him some crazy superpower thing or whatever. Like he was pretty much just a normal guy. But he was just a very smart and calculating with all this, and they just did a very good job of making him a very gray antagonist. He's very much kind of does villain things. He's very ruthless, does some fucked up things, but he's also kind of right. You know, it's kind of like it does the thing where it's like Vander's seems like such a nice guy, but he's also getting nowhere as far as the conflict, but you know, between Zahn and Piltover, and it's like Silco's actually making stuff happen. So it's like it did a very good job of you never quite knew how you felt about him, and just whoever did the voice acting for him was just very, very, very good.
I looked it up, and I was surprised that he see some of his roles. He played like Kid Flash and stuff in Young Justice. I'm like, I did not expect this. couple other rules.
Yeah.
They had a lot of a lot of not diversity, not diversity. Range. That's the word I'm looking for. He has great range. There we go. Great range.
Well, that at the end there with Jinx and everything, I wouldn't have given you to them for anything or whatever. And like you believe him, it's like and you didn't quite know going into there. It's like where exactly does he feel with this? How much is Jinx just like a puppet and all this or whatever? It's like no, he legit cared.
Yeah, because they kind of showed for that. Obviously, yeah, he had the goal, and that seemed to be his driving force and all he really wanted. But we saw through kind of throughout it, and it kind of built like how much he cared for Jinx. And yeah, obviously with that last line and everything showed, oh yeah, he cared about Jinx more than anything. And when he was sitting on Vander's statue and he's like, I get it.
Yeah. I actually did think that he was gonna rat Jinx out. I actually did, but it didn't come to it's fine that it didn't, because that means that Silco just stuck to the truth of his character. And it does also bring his arc around to being a parallel to how Vander was, since Vander was like, oh yeah, living, my daughters and whatever, blah, blah. And I got their parents killed, so I feel obligated to take care of these girls here. And Silco's like, oh, I'll go and kill your Vander. And then he has to take care of one of them, and then the other one's just locked up. So it was nice to see. It was definitely nice to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was kind of cool that I'm happy that I was very happy with his whole arc, and I'm kind of happy that like his arc is closed out, was really good, and we get to go forward with a different antagonist and everything else. Like, yeah, I'm kind of happy. I'm very satisfied with what they did with the Silco Vander parallel there, and it's like it was as much as it's painful to see the cliffhanger, it was a pretty great place to end this, because it's like, all right, shit's about to blow up.
Literally
blow up.
Shit's about to blow. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I think. Oh, you can go ahead.
Oh no, that was generally it, but it's kind of interesting to see, like, yeah, does everyone survive? Who has the greatest plot armor of all, and that kind of stuff. And we know who's going to be in that room. Victor, Jason, Mal will probably be the ones to survive.
Yeah, Victor, Jason, Mel, Mel's mom more than likely, because she's just going to use it. She's like when she came in, she's just going to use it as an opportunity to further the war initiative thing. Yeah, like using Piltover as a testing grounds for the hex weapons and things like that. So she has to survive, because then we get to open up the world further, and we get to bring Noxus into the mix and things like that. So.
Well, in the chat, you see she might have had Zanya's, so I think she's going to be okay.
That'd be funny, because there was some noise being made about that, since she has since Mel has a little Lock of the Iron Solari thing on her back, and people are thinking like, oh my gosh, she's part of the Solari, she's got something going on with that or whatever. And it's like, well, it's I don't know. I mean, maybe. I've seen some theories about people talking about like Mel and Rel, which is so silly. They're thinking that they might be related, and Mel might have some kind of power in terms of allomancy or whatever. It's interesting, to say the least. It is. We definitely have a lot of things that could be. So it's definitely interesting.
And you'd probably know more than me. Echo gets into some time travel shenanigans, doesn't he?
Echo, yes, but that's what I mean with the lore changes. But it still fits the plot. Initially, Echo kind of did all of that by himself with his own ingenuity and whatnot, right? But now they have it so that Heimerdinger is going to be a part of him doing that, which is it's fine. That's fine. But yeah, Echo does get himself like a hex core or something. Then he starts to mess with the Z drive resonance and things like that. So interested in seeing how that comes into fruition. I was actually quite surprised that we got so much more of characters outside of just Vi, Jinx, Caitlyn, Jace, Victor. To be perfectly honest, that is one thing that surprised me a lot, is that we got characters outside of those 3 or 4.
Yeah, I was surprised to see like Singed, and it was more than just a one-time cameo. Like he came back. Yeah,
Singed, of all characters, Singed. I was like, whoa. But I guess it kind of makes sense, because Silco wouldn't be Silco and doing the things that he's doing without somebody to mess around with the shimmer and the things like that. So I guess it makes sense. I just Singed of all characters, he is not one of the more popular ones, but still nice to see.
Well, that's what
for sure.
I love about this show is that like it felt believable and all these people came in and they knew when to super highlight characters and when to have them kind of in the background. Like Singe was a good example of like he colors the world and everything, and it's someone you know and can play as and have a history with, but like he serves a purpose kind of in the background or whatever, and that works very well. I hope they do that from here on out. It's like instead of like, no, we're just gonna focus on these 4 like big ones. It's like you can expand this out some, but just have these other characters kind of just color the world around you rather than you know trying to give everyone equal playing time. You know, like I think they did that, and they have so many damn characters that they could go. It seems like they could go anywhere in this world, and you're gonna have like a full backdrop of characters, like playable characters that you can have in different roles like those.
But when are we gonna get our talking rat? I don't know if he talks or not.
Is that do you think that rat is Twitch? Because like as soon as they like pumped a rat full of like the stuff or whatever, I'm like, oh fuck, is Twitch coming?
The shimmer. I was like, a lot of noise is being made about that. That's for sure. It might be, but I mean, he would have to find a way to get out of the cave. Like we don't know.
And there was a giant time skip, so who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
That could have been a fun thing to tease people in the know.
Yeah, we might see Twitch. We might see what's that other channel? We might see some Oriana. We might see Zach. We might see Blitzcrank. You know, there's a lot of things.
I fully expected Dr. Mundo this season after the first act.
We might see Mundo. That'll be great.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of things that we could get out of the show, which is the more entertaining aspect of it. You know, there's still so many things that we could get out of the show with just Piltover and Zahn. You'd have to actually look at the roster on the League universe thing to see who is coming from where, but I mean, we might even get some people from Noxus showing up in there. Maybe even like LeBlanc, because you know the weaponry, the hex weaponry thing. Well, outside of LeBlanc, Swain maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
Because of his I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's just there's a lot of different people. There's a lot of different things that could happen. So it's very interesting to see how it might play out.
Oh, you know we're gonna get Warwick, right? They're teasing that.
We're definitely gonna see Warwick.
Yeah,
we
you
are
got
definitely
thoughts on that?
115% gonna see Warwick. We do not have to worry about that.
A little tease at the end.
Yeah, you know more about
Yeah.
the lore. I mean, does you think for sure that man's coming back as a big werewolf?
For Warwick, like I said,
for
there
him
were
being
some.
Vander, I mean.
It tracks, but like I said, they changed a thing or two. Normally that wouldn't be the case because Warwick it was very explicitly stated that he died well before, or he died during the experimentations, not that he was dead before the experimentation. Because when he died, he was then able to fully, like, the chemicals or whatever was fully able to come into him and blah, 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 womp, womp, womp. He then became Warwick. But like I said, them changing it up here or there, the small things, as long as it serves the plot, all good. And it definitely serves the plot.
Yeah, just from the vague things I've just read about Warwick and like the bio and other things like that, it's like it seems really cool. I mean, Vander was an awesome character, but it's kind of like he did die. You get the sadness of that, but also this feels like a cool way to keep him going.
There's no way you guys did not think that he was gonna die. I knew when I saw him he was gonna fucking die.
Oh wait, oh no, like, for sure.
Oh yeah.
As soon as I was like, oh, you're like the only one of these characters that's not playable. Bye.
Well, I didn't know that. I didn't feel. I felt less good about the kids than Vander because I didn't know if Vander was playable or not.
Yeah. I was like, no, you're not playable. You're a father figure that they all really rely on, and you're not playable. See ya.
Yeah, you gotta go.
Dear God.
We gotta kill you to make you playable. Bye.
And even then, they still brought him back as Warwick apparently, so that's great. But speaking of the kids dying, that first act finale was intense.
Yeah.
So that was you really saw it all come together, how Jinx became Jinx because she fucking blew people up. She made they were doing everything right. Mallow, Clagger, Vi, and Vander were going to get out of there. Everything was going to be okay-ish, until they could regroup and then tackle Silco again. And then Jinx is like, I can help. And she blows everybody up.
And I was just
Fun
very
fact.
impressed because, in a general sense, if you tell me how far they have to go in the story in 9 episodes, and you have to go from like kids for 3, and then 3, whatever, I'd be like, that's a lot, and that's a hard thing to make these characters seem believable as kids, and these are the same characters growing up or whatever in that short amount of time. But like, I'm really glad that they decided to make that 3 episodes, that we really got to sit with them as kids, and I feel like that those first 3 episodes like really. They gave a very good foundation for like everything else that happened afterwards. And
Yeah.
I think in a lot of ways those first three episodes might be, I don't know, they might be like my favorite episodes just because like it was a very good, like I loved them as kids. They were very believable as these kids growing up in a bad situation that, like I don't know, I just liked it a lot.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
sure.
I'd have to say my favorite arc. I mean, I didn't mind them as kids. That was inoffensive, but I can't decide between like Act 2 or Act 3, but I'm pretty sure it's probably just going to be Act 3 because of course, I got to see more of the other characters and how they were reacting to things, and people like they put a lot of onus on Echo to be like this boy savior thing, which is kind of weird. I don't like that too much, but he did. I like that he wasn't like he didn't cut the shit with Jinx. Like he was just like, yeah, okay, you gotta go, and he just gave it to her there, and he was. I like seeing Echo do that. I like seeing how the relationship between Mel and Jace is being further explored and exploited by Mel's mother as well. So I definitely have to say like Act 3 was my favorite, Act 2 and then Act 1 for how things played out for me.
But Act 2 had the most Caitlyn Vi romance, so I think that's the best one.
True.
True, actually. True.
Something I like, I think it happened in Act 3 was it was kind of good. Like going back to Mel, because in the beginning it was like it seemed like Mel was just really using Jace, but I'm glad it kind of turned into at least she actually does care and that wasn't fake. Like, okay, the fact that you just kind of ended up playing it straight is a nice kind of change of pace of how the stuff normally goes.
She cared, but it never started feeling like this is a powerful woman who's now just relying on this guy.
Oh, yeah,
and, has no power.
Yeah.
It never felt like that. It still felt like she's in control. She has her own goals, and if they don't align with his, she's not going to just follow him for no reason. I like their relationship.
Yeah,
I like that dynamic a lot.
Yeah. That's what makes Mel, to me at least, makes her so interesting is that she like just said, it does seem like she at first was just using Jace because blah 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 womp womp womp, but it became more than that, and she then revealed her own other motives outside of just being there to support him, because she actually doesn't want to just blow things up or whatever. She wanted to come into her own as a person, and she was able to do that around Act 3. And now we have to see if she makes it into season 2 to see how that all plays out. But her being this like really compelling, like somewhat enigmatic, mysterious like character who is just talking around everybody and keeping people at least happy or content. That was very, very nice to see. And like you said, her power, quote unquote, did not come from like saddling next to Jace, because Jace had his own thing to go through, and he was his own thing. So he had that going on, but her main interest was not just centered around him. And I think that's really, really. Oh, did the call drop?
I might have for a second. Can you hear us?
Hello?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear. Okay, yeah, it might have again. Our happens with our Discord, unfortunately. But yeah, I agree, and even Jace also. Usually, that's the type of character I just like care about the least. Is the very straight man, pretty boy protagonist guy. Usually, I'm like, oh, that's the most forgettable one.
Listen, I didn't want to be the one to say it, but
And I mean, to be fair, if I had to rate characters, he would be pretty low. But in the grand scheme, I do think they gave him some teeth. Like, the same thing like you said with this. Like,
Yeah.
I think that, especially you saw how far he came from like early on. Like, and I liked his like, and I like that it wasn't all just like, I'm gonna go against you, Heimerdinger, screw you. There was like some back and forth. There was I like the moment with the speech when it's like, oh no, he's actually siding with him. But then he's kind of like, you see that tug of war back and forth, and I think it definitely made him a more interesting character. And I think one of my favorite scenes was when he kills the kid in the factory or whatever, and he's like completely distraught about it. But then Vi's like, you realize you've been responsible for far more than this. You just hadn't seen the shit. You just hadn't seen it.
You guys
like,
have been doing this for a minute, like, and now you want to feel okay, interesting. I'm still gonna fuck shit up. That's what I do like that about Vi, because in game she's just like, Vi, my name's Vi for violence, but in Arcane she's just like, yeah, I grew up on I grew up on a life of tough knocks. We gotta step up, and my sister's actually the one who's killing people and blowing things up. That's so crazy. Caitlyn, guess what? Can't arrest her. Sorry, babe. You know, it's it definitely expanded on her character a lot more, and made her far more interesting than what she is shown to be. Of course, Caitlyn got her entire VGU, and that has brought her far out of just sexy cop woman. Now she's sexy, but in a different kind of way, because she's more compelling. She's more of her own character rather than somebody's, what's the word we're looking for? She's, I think like maybe she's like challenging, or maybe she's like doing more than just she's doing more than embodying the trope, you know, of the sexy cop sheriff woman who like has power, whatever. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with it.
I'm going to say, when I booted up League after watching this and saw her default costume, I was like, this is different than what I am now used to.
That's a thing for all of Arcane. Like, I mean, League was a game.
To point to, yeah.
League was a game made in 2009 for a very gamer bro audience. It has some roots. It has some roots.
Choices. They made some choices.
But I'm so happy to see that when we're finally getting to what it feels like we're getting to peak League like explosiveness, like getting into pop culture, it's a very different beast. I mean, and I think, like you said, these characters are almost unrecognizable in a great way. Yeah. Of like, but they also haven't completely lost. Like, they're still badass. I think Vi's more badass now, but it's just like,
of course,
in a very different
more badass now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Vi is probably my second favorite character outside of Silco. And Vi and Caitlyn's relationship, I just was not expecting that to be as strong as it is. And it's such a, I mean, again, this show takes a lot of tropes and stuff that's like we've seen before, like, you know, these two people who are like completely as opposite as can be from each other, you know, a high class person or whatever, you know, it's like, but again, it was just done so freaking well, and their dialogue with each other was like incredibly believable. I mean, you just like, you couldn't help but fall in love with them. And they got to explore that. Like, 9 episodes doesn't feel like a lot, but for 9 episodes, they had a lot of different character pairings that felt fully, you know, explored.
I was surprised that we'll just call her Mother Medarda, but I was surprised she came in at episode 8 and she was just like fucking shit up. I was like, what the fuck? She did so much. She barely had like 15 minutes of screen time total, and she just brought so much to the table, because she's a blast from the past for Mel. She's a reminder of what wasn't, and I mean, like, she did a lot. So I don't know. That's like, to piggyback off of what you said, even within the 9 episodes, even within like the 1.5 episodes tops, we'll give to Mother Medarda, like, they definitely made sure that whenever they introduced a character that was more than just like like an Easter egg or a cameo or whatever, they made these characters put in work. If they gave you a name or whatever, you were putting in work just about. And that's great because it means that they actually took time with the writing, and we didn't have a fiesta like we had with some other champions that were released. Seraphine. We didn't have a fiesta with lore like that. That had to be hot fixed. so yeah.
Yeah. And they straight up gave her the Witcher 3 bathtub thing. And I'm like, hell yeah.
See, now that was great.
That
Listen,
was wonderful.
They definitely they wanted a certain kind of people to eat, and like you said, they had Jace and Victor. People are like, oh my gosh, Jace, Vic, blah blah blah, womp womp womp. It was like, no, honey, you are looking at the wrong people. Nothing was going on there, and nothing was going on there. You need to be looking at like we got Caitlyn, we got Vi, we got them going into a literal fucking brothel. Caitlyn is being flirted with, all that and then some. But people see certain kind of people next to each other, and they just lose their mind. I believe a friend told me about a migratory like slash fic or whatever, and they just wanted to like Jason and Victor occupied enough space next to one another, and so they were like, "Oh my gosh, they got a kiss!" And it's just like, I don't know. They were extremely heterosexual to me. They were extremely
Big heterosexual vibe.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with that, but I wasn't seeing it. Like maybe Victor's like, oh, I think I like Jason. He's cute, but like I also don't want to die. So that's also more important to me than just a random guy. Though it's also my part, but
I will say there were some. I don't know. There were some vibes like they literally had cut back and forth him having sex with Mel to like Victor like stumbling around falling out coughing blood. I'm like, there's something like they're like cut back and forth.
That was a choice. I'm glad that they made it. That was so interesting to see because after that episode aired, of course, I went and got on Twitter and people were freaking out. I was like, bro, like, people, like, it's like they complain about people not being, like, men, okay, straight guys complain about not being able to be friends because, you know, they have to perform, blah, 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 womp, 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 I don't care. And then you have the migratory slash fic people who are like, oh my gosh, these two men breathe next to each other. Gotta pair them up. And it's just like, okay, well, where do we actually like get off and go? Because there was only one line where Victor was like, at the very beginning when Mel caught them going back into the Jace's office or whatever at the academy, he was like, this is in my room or whatever. And the way they rolled that they took that one to the fucking moon. I kept seeing that over and over and over. I was like, what's going on? These guys are aggressively straight. Like, I don't see it.
Everyone's desperate out here more.
Apparently, like they're getting crumbs, and we have like Vi and Caitlyn. We got what was that? She didn't have a name, but I don't know. The girls were definitely giving a lot more than the guys.
I guess.
Yeah,
that is unfortunately usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do make up for it somewhere. There's a big world to explore, hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully the internet gets what they want, you know. It comes to that. I'll tell you 100%. I did not expect like GIMP yordles or whatever.
The
brothels.
I wasn't expecting that. The whole brothel scene thing. I wasn't expecting them to go there at all. But it goes to show that even when Vi came back all those years later, she still had her connections and everything to everybody. So they were all still like hoping for. One thing I do like is that they did not put all the impetus on Vi to fix Zaun. They were just like, okay, so a few of us tried to rise up against Silco and we were silenced, and now we live under this crime boss, and we're just trying to make ends meet. And this kind of the same way of how it is, well, like Topside, because Topside is all corrupt and everything, and you have Silco and others paying them off to let certain things slide, and then you go to the Undercity, and they're just like scraps, like literally just scraps. It's just scraps and hedonism, but it was still nice to see that Vi had those connections, that people were still thinking about her, even when like that one guy Hugh, who Vander saved from getting conned or whatever from a deal that he had made.
Oh, yeah.
It was nice to see him show up, even though he sold them out. I mean, like we've been knew, Caitlyn's just too far trusting, and she, it was like they really brought everything together, even minor characters that didn't really have much more to them outside of just being there. They brought it all together for the show, and it was really nice to see.
Yeah, I really liked who does anyone remember what Silco's like second-hand person with the blade arm or whatever was named?
Civ,
Something
whatever.
like that.
Her,
Civica,
yes.
Yeah. I thought she was cool to begin with at the beginning, but like I didn't expect her to still be around in such a big way after, and I think her character in like the second half of it was like even better. It was, very
Fight with Vi at the end was awesome.
Oh god.
Oh yeah. Like I said, she was definitely showing up too. But a lot of the supporting characters and whatnot were, because now that Silco's dead, spoiler, sorry. Now that he's dead, who's going to fill in that vacuum now?
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that were Renee, whatever. She's a Rennie. She could do it. Maybe somebody from Noxus might come in and start dabbling in theirs. That's how we get Swain or LeBlanc, Vladimir. Maybe Sivka might step up and do it. Like, who knows?
I'm probably butchering it, but like Asian, I think Asian in chat says they can't wait till Arcane season 3 after all the carnage and suffering. Seraphine will sing everyone a happy song and everything will be great.
Oh my god! It's the way
everything will be fixed.
They literally cannot use Seraphine. There's just no way. They can't.
Seraphine,
illegal.
All Seraphine could be is in the background there's like KDAs performing. That's like she should be somewhere else. That's the version of Seraphine. She doesn't interact with the plot at all. She's just a pop star somewhere else.
They can't. They messed up with Seraphine. They just can't use her.
I mean, especially at the time, I wasn't really up on League lore that much. I knew that people were not happy about the lore stuff. I didn't know much about it. Especially now that I know the Piltover Zahn thing, it's like patently absurd to think like, oh, this person sings happy songs and brings the city together. The city that has killed hundreds of people and like modern. It's like this awful conflict that's spanned generations, drugs, all this other stuff. It's like, oh, but she sings a happy song.
Just sing a happy song and just make it all bad. Yeah, I don't know, man. I want to see personally. I want to see if they're going to do something with Oriana, because she could do something. But the thing about it is the way the narrative is shaping right now, we are still on Jinx is going to terrorize the city of Piltover, and that's great. Love that. But it does kind of make it a little bit more difficult for other Zahn and Piltover champions to show up. I know Camille's going to show up. She's definitely going to show up. There is no way they're going to leave Camille out of it. Who else? But yeah, I don't know. They aren't gonna.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about the future after this show. Definitely like to close out, but like we probably don't have too much to say because I mean it's kind of just she is, like you said, drives the whole narrative. But we really haven't talked about Jinx much, and I really do think that her arc was very, very good. Like you said, I think ultimately I think some of the supporting characters were like overall slightly stronger than her, but just because she was just kind of the track that the show was like riding on.
She was the wild card, one could say.
Yeah,
literally.
And I do think overall, like there were times where I think I felt like we were leaning into the crazy person trope maybe a little bit too much. There was definitely times where I'm like, like some of her talking to herself. I mean, overall, I think it works very, very well, and I think overall it hits way more than it misses.
Go on with her.
And the fact that when she's in her was in her own bunker thing or whatever, and I was like, okay, she's like talking to two dolls over there, and then it flips to them again. I'm like, oh fuck, those are the kids. Oh no, like, those are the kids she killed. Oh Jesus.
See, and that's the thing about it, because like maybe with Vander, if Vander were around, or maybe even Vi, somebody she could actually talk to about these kind of things, things would have been different. But it's the fact of the matter that they weren't there, or Silco didn't prioritize things like that, that makes the narrative that much more better, much more compelling. They did handle the like Darby mentioned earlier, the crazy person thing. They handled that tastefully, which 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 is interesting because then you think about another crazy or quote unquote crazy person, and you think about Mundo, who is also from like Piltover Zon, and it's just it's very inconsistent writing, very inconsistent tone handling and things like that. So yeah, like but Powder, Jinx, whatever in the show Arcane, great, love it. That was done really well, but it does beg asking, like, how are they going to do other characters that are kind of, I'm not sure if I have the proper word for it, like schizophrenic or like I don't know, whatever. But how are they going to do other characters like that? And that brings up to mind Mundo, because his new lore rewrite shenanigans and his old lore is very oh, this man was a very tortured guy and he was locked up in a straitjacket and he did some crazy things or whatever. And it's like, oh, and then you turn the other cheek and it's like, oh, haha, wacko, crazy, cartoon comedy, funny man, ha ha ha. And it's just like, oof, it's just like, oof.
I'm hoping that Arcane has kind of shown that, like, in the broad sense, League has just a strong world, just in the sense that it's like so expansive and has like, you can have two different League properties that are like completely different tone and genre, and it still works in this universe because like it's just a very open universe that has like a lot of lore. Even if some of it has been better than others, it just has a lot of, at its core, strong things that you can work with. And I'm hoping that Arcane just shows that even if there's problematic stuff or things that weren't done as good, that they're not afraid to kind of tweak it or like, take the good parts of it, drop the bad parts of it, and go forward. Because like after you've made this, I would hope that like your writing's not going to drop too much from this, because it feels grown up, especially when I read some of the stuff that was like done way back when, like 10 years ago, or see some of the designs. This just feels like a way more mature.
Yeah, I'm sure they're thinking about that, because when it comes to like mental health and stuff in these kind of shows, everyone's kind of, rightfully so, are being kind of more analyzing, more like, okay, is this being done tastefully? Like with Jinx, that's a very fine line. People are kind of on both sides of it a little bit, which I can understand.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I don't know besides what Maura just said about Dr. Mundo's backstory, really, but I imagine whatever it is, they're going to do it in a way that kind of fits an Arcane more, and do it kind of not just crazy cartoon man, kind of like what they did with Jinx. Because it sounds like to me, based on what I've seen from Jinx in normal League, she is literally just Harley Quinn. And this, they did some more stuff with her story, and also I like what they did at the end. We'll have to see where they go with it. The fact is, okay, yes, she is trying to kill the council and everything, but it sounds like maybe before they would have done, oh, she's Jinx, she's crazy. Now it's like, okay, she has a reason. She's sad about Silco and all that, so at least something, even though that's too far.
And I think it sets up very well for, you had the first initial thing where Vi is trying to be on Powder's side, and then the bomb that kills everyone, that was like a breaking point. They separate, she becomes Jinx. Then they're coming together. She's trying to like make up for and be on her side again. Then this happens, and this sets up perfectly for like, okay, now we've gone too far, and this is where Vi is going to join the force, and Jinx is going to become even more unhinged because she doesn't have a Silco to somewhat keep her in line. She has no one,
or the thought of Vi maybe holding her back a little bit.
And so that this I mean, it's a very tragic story, but this sets up for that final like confrontation where so this feels like the second of three big Vi Jinx clashing things to me, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it is interesting, because do we actually want there to be what's the word I'm looking for? Do we actually want things to like wrap up and conclude between them? Because the narrative is much more interesting when that is not the case, I think. With Caitlyn, Vi, and Jinx, that whole thing going on, I want to see what Jinx will do next. I am very, very interested in seeing what Jinx will do next. in terms of terrorizing Piltover and things like that, and stepping out of just the Harley Quinn XP crazy girl whatever thing that they had prior to, stepping into being her own character and doing things like that. Very interested to see what they do with that. We already know where things are going to go with Jace and Victor. They're going to have their falling out, and we didn't really talk about them all that much because they're not really as compelling as some of the other characters like We've Been knew.
But more of the internet told me they were going to kiss.
Okay,
so they have to kiss before they fall out, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they have to kiss before they fall out.
Okay,
They're not going to. Dude, we literally talked about this earlier.
I'm just kidding.
They had the sex scene between Mel and Jace, and Victor's literally coughing up his fucking.
People are by him, or it's called a love triangle. Okay.
Where's the love? It's not like I don't want things like. It's not like I don't want like representation, queer representation or whatever. But like,
we get it. It's a love. It's a love straight line. We get it.
Yeah.
It's just like, I guess Victor is pining for Jace, but not really. Victor had someone that was interested in him, but we don't get to hear how that narrative worked out because they fridged her. She had like 3 spoken lines, and they were like, "Okay, girl, into the fridge you go." And now Victor is all conflicted about the hex core thing,
Literally
which is fun
into
fact.
dust.
Yep.
Yeah, which is show me the real powder. By the way, her name is Sky. Fun fact. The hex core thing that Victor is messing around with now is actually a seed of the Acathia, and the seed of Acathia is from the Void. So we might, we probably no, they can't. I don't think they would go so far as to introduce the Void into Piltover, but they did say that prior to when they first established the city of Piltover, they did want to get away from magic and all the shenanigans, and maybe we might see something going on there. But. Yeah,
send me Vilcause through the void. I want to see that big eyeball monster. I love that boy.
Well, that's part of the issue because the void monsters are like literal like skyscraper size or some shit like that.
It's cool.
So yeah, they have a lot of different ways they could take things. That's the best thing about it is that they have a lot of different ways they can take things. And so we'll have to see where they go and how they get there. But as an initial start and an initial hook, bringing somebody in, I think it does a great job because clearly you don't have to play League in order to enjoy Arcane. Unfortunately, you're not going to get much more from the entire League of Legends IP because they are only just now putting their foot out there in terms of diversifying the content from which Riot Games can create. But that's the best thing about it. Like I've seen a couple of like cosplayers and things and talk about it, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm so excited to cosplay this character from Arcane, and I love the fact that I don't have to give a shit about League of Legends in order to do it." Blah blah blah, womp womp womp. And I'm just like, yeah, powerful, better. You're better for it. You like the cameo from Janna?
Yeah, every time there was a windmill.
Asian, please.
Love that she was the best character in Arcane.
Yeah, Janna could show up. Yeah, there'll be a stiff breeze, and then she'll just show up. She'll blow some cleansing air, and there you go. Janna
well, she is supposed to be like she watches over Zon or something, right? She is in Zon.
According to the League of Legends fandom thing I just pulled up when I checked to see who this character was.
Yeah, because when I remember reading that, I was like, or I was in the like world map thing. It was like Jaina's and Zon. Like, isn't she like a god? Is she like a wind goddess or something?
That's the writing at play. They don't know what they want to do with half their characters. Like,
well, I mean, that could be cool. I was just surprised. I was like, oh, and then I read it, and it was like, okay, she's like, there was some reason I forgot. She was like watching over them for some reason.
Yeah, she was a spirit in Bilgewater, and then they forgot about her. She was just like, with the wind, and then she blew on over to Zon and Piltover. And now, like Aisha said, she's a god struggling for relevance.
In this IP. True. Like, please, where do you want me to go so that I can be in something, please?
Don't you guys want some wind?
Arcane 2 is gonna be in Noxus. Here I come. Woo! Well, let's talk about the future of this because like I am very interested. What I'm hoping for, and it might be too much to hope for. This feels like the start of of what could be like an MCU type of thing where it's like I want them to start like Arcane was great, and I want them to have Arcane season 2, 3, whatever. I also want them to start making other shows, like completely different show with a different name, with different characters in a different place that is like seems completely disconnected from Arcane, and it like a very different tone, because that's what seems great about this world is you could straight up have a horror thing, a lighthearted thing, you could have all kind of things. So I want them to start doing that, and then have their like Avengers thing where like people like these things start clashing, maybe with the with big giant threats, because they also have like celestial god type characters in here. So like that's what I want. I want Arcane to be one of multiple things that are worked on at the same time. I'm a little worried about that because this took 6 years to make.
Yeah, well,
And I'm like,
good news about that, based on what I've seen, a lot of that 6 years had to do with them actually making the tech and everything, the art style to make this show, and it got delayed a year because of COVID. But now that that's done, it should be quicker. And one of the people working at Arcane said season 2 is not coming in 2022, but they didn't say anything about 2023. So odds are they are at least looking at that.
It's definitely gonna get here, so it'll be here when it'll be here. But outside of that, yeah, I want to see, for Asian's sake as well as my own, I actually do want to see what they do with the Mage Seeker Rebellion in Demacia. I don't like Naria Champion in not like Lux. Sorry, I don't really like too many champions from Demacia or whatever. But with the whole Mage Seeker Rebellion thing that they've got going on there, I would like to see that, because that is interesting. That would be very, very interesting to see, because you have like Garen and Lux, and they're all conflicted.
Can you give us just like the
magic and
cliff
blah,
notes
blah.
of this? Because obviously me and Jeff know. I heard you talk a little bit about it on stream.
With the Mage Seeker Rebellion thing, it's basically J4 is the king, and he is letting people run around and genocide people with magical abilities. Lux is a person with magical abilities that she's one of the good ones, so she doesn't have to worry about that. Lux encounters Silas. Silas is like, let your light shine, and then he steals some of her magic. He blows up out of prison, and then they have to deal with all that. So
Nice.
That's kind of what's going on. Oh, also Silas is wrongfully imprisoned because he tried to step out against them, and he was made into this martyr of evil or whatever, this boogeyman. So yeah. That's just some more messy storytelling, because they're trying to both sides it, and it's kind of like, I don't know. This guy's kind of the head of like a regime against people and oppressed people, and kind of can't both sides it.
He's kind of doing genocide. Just a little
you're kind of
genocide.
doing a little genocide there, J4. You're kind of presiding over that. I don't know, Garen. You might like your sister, but you're kind of just like, just simply for the system here, letting J4 do whatever this is your bro, and your bro is just like, ha ha ha, gotta kill all the people that are magic. And it's just like, oh yeah, and then he wants to, apparently him and Shyvana are a thing, and Shyvana hates everybody in Demacia, and J4's like, I can't figure out why this magic dragon lady hates everybody in Demacia. Gotta go kill a mage. It's very choices were made there. So yeah, so that's kind of my main tick with a lot of the writing, and that's why I'm kind of worried with how they will do things in the future with Arcane, because if they do introduce more characters and they do introduce more plot points and things like that, are they actually going to take the time, like they did it with Arcane? Great, got it. Are they going to be able to continue to deliver on the expectations that people have on them now? That's where I'm at with it. So I'm still excited.
Do you think Arcane is like this is the League of Legends show, and just Arcane is eventually going to like not have Jinx and Vi and be somewhere completely else? It's just going to be Arcane season 4 is now in Demacia, and then Arcane season 7 after they do like 2 things in Demacia is somewhere. Do you think it's going to be like that, or do you think they're going to expand this out to other things?
They're going to have to expand it out to other things, because Arcane was just so heavily marketed around Vi, Jinx, Caitlyn, Jace, Victor, Mel, Silco, Vander. It was just marketed. Oh, wow, that's all the title characters. Look at me go. It was just so heavily marketed around those characters. It would be very, very difficult for them to do it without renaming it. Like, think of how they introduced the Mega Man series thing, and then, okay, so we have Mega Man Zero X, right? But imagine if they try to do the Mega Man Zero X thing with just calling it Zero X or whatever, or Mega Man Zero, excuse me. That's the name. That's the correct title of it. It wouldn't sell, right? So they're gonna, if they want to diversify or they want to give it a different name, it's gonna have to be like Arcane colon Ionia or Arcane colon Demacia or something, some shit like that.
Yeah, maybe something like that. I think you're right. They might be. They just did Arcane so much. I thought the way they were going to do it originally was have Arcane or whatever word they want to use in a League of Legends story or whatever they use, because it's under the title technically. But they're not pushing that enough to people who don't know, still won't recognize League of Legends per se.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with that.
They're just gonna call it Arcane and throw some color and be like Arcane, the Mage Seeker Rebellion. Yeah, like there's a lot of different things that they can name it, or subtitle it. Excuse me, but it's definitely gonna have to stick with Arcane for right now because people will be like, oh, this is the League of Legends show, and then they'll fall down the rabbit hole and that'll drive up their engagement and the revenue, which is what they want because capitalism. But they basically have to do it like that.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited just because looking at, again, not knowing a whole lot about this, just looking at the map of all the different places and how every single one of those story characters has at least some short story thing, and there's a lot there. It's a game that's been around for 10 years. Obviously, they haven't focused on the narrative thing as much, but they have a strong foundation where they have a lot of stories to pull from. Hopefully, they can clean up stories, do things differently if they want to. I'm hoping the Arcane is kind of a fresh start. They have a good thing to work with here, but they can kind of use this as a new beginning for some of that.
I think what they need to do is Kingdom Hearts it. And you have to play Ruined King and Project L and all those games
and the
to understand
game,
what
the rhythm game.
Yeah, to understand what happens in Arcane Season 3 and 4.
No, please, God, not that. Please, if they Kingdom Hearts it, they're gonna shoot it in the fucking foot. Like it took us 17 years to get Kingdom Hearts 3, didn't it? Do you really what?
It was 14.
Only 14? Okay, whatever. And that was through all the retcons and the other shenanigans that they had going on.
Yeah, what percentage of people who played Kingdom Hearts 3 knew what the fuck was going on?
Not many.
Apparently it was only for the diehard fans because a couple of people tried to play it and they were like, I don't get it. And it's like, of course you didn't get it. You don't get it. You weren't debated by this game when you first played it when you were like 10 years old or whatever. So yeah, of course you don't get it.
I was debated.
Yeah, a lot of us were. I stopped at Kingdom Hearts 2. I got out, but
oh wow,
I am very familiar with the series. But yeah, it would be. But the thing about it is, there are other stories and things like the Legend of Runeterra thing, the League of Legends story, or is that the one with the Bilgewater people? Yeah, I think with Misfortune and whatever.
That's Ruined King. Yep.
Like you have to think about it because that is an entirely different story. And then you think about the harrowing event with Viego and everything that we did. And the writing for that and the writing for the current story that they're doing with the new game that they just dropped is just, it would be very bad if they did that because the writing for the Ruined King visual novel thing was, choices were made there. They should have delayed the event. They didn't. So, it hurt. They character assassinated quite a few characters, Misfortune in particular, because they had her finally come into her own as a character, and then the harrowing event happens from the VN novel thing with the Sentinels of Light. There we go. And then they're just like, oh yeah, she falls into Viego's clutches of power or whatnot, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just like, where are you going with this character? Because they can't decide on any kind of narrative focus that they want to give anybody, and that's basically what I'm saying with some of their writing choices and decisions. Like, if you want to have a fun game that doesn't mean anything or a fun story that doesn't mean anything, sure, great, got it, do that. But if you want something that's more serious, more mature, more gritty, more realistic, and you want these characters to really shine as they are, you can't have them doing wacko fun time things. I mean, you can, sure, but the tonal whiplash just is going to be breaking somebody's neck,
Yeah. Yep. I mean, obviously, yeah, you know a lot more about the ways that they've stumbled with this than we do. But as someone kind of from the outside of the lore thing, I'm just somewhat optimistic that this was just like such a good step with the writing and how they handled all of this. So I'm like hoping that when they touch other things, it'll just be like, oh, okay, this was the best version of this. And we've seen this with other things. God of War had like some of the worst story. It's just like awful garbage. And then the new one like was one of the best written things. You know, it's like you can take something that has a strong foundation, but like really fucked up, and you can make it a lot better. It's like that's where I'm hoping with them.
Yeah, I definitely think they are going to take Arcane as it is right now, and they're going to see all the people making their criticisms and whatnot of the show, and they are going to take it and run with it and be like, okay, this is where we can improve. We can definitely like step up the story here or there, because if you have read any of the other comics, like there's Ash's War Mother comic, that's a pretty good read. There's the one with Lux and Silas or whatever. I didn't finish that one. But you could read that one. The writing is there. They can definitely bring it. It's just a matter of, is it going to be of a consistent quality? Because then you look back, you get flops like Seraphine's lore, you get the Sentinels of Light event, and it's just kind of like when they're riding their middle ground in terms of consistency, it's good. You get some good stuff, but then they start trying to mess around or whatever, and then it just crashes and burns, and everybody hates it, and it's so I don't know. We will have to see, and I think that with what they've given us with Arcane, we will probably see something pretty satisfactory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just want to see big old monsters in that animation style too. Like so, show me Vel'Koz with his weird tentacles.
I think the void thing showing up is going to be a little too soon. But I mean, if we see any of the other Yordles, like if we see like Kled or whatever show up, that would be great. Warwick is definitely going to show up, so we don't got to worry about that. But seeing Zach show up would be nice as well. Soraka. You said Soraka?
Yeah.
I don't know where Soraka's at. I know that she doesn't place anywhere in Arcane, but I'm so sorry.
Probably not.
Don't worry, Barry. One of the other shows.
Sorry.
No, eventually. I'll wait.
You might get Star Guardian Soraka again before you get classic Soraka.
No, I just want the chill show with Soraka and some other people at Mount Targan. There's no conflict. It's just they just chill out.
Dirty. Remember, MCU got the Shang-Chi. Yeah. If this goes long enough, they can get to anyone.
We'll get there. It'll be 15 years for that. We'll get there.
But yeah, it's definitely going to take some time to get to where some people might want to see a thing or two. But excuse me, when they step out of Zon and Piltover, like the world that they created is theirs, and I don't know. They just have a lot of different places that they could go. They have a lot of different places that they could go, and a lot of other things that they can explore as well. But right now, with just Arcane, Zon, and Piltover, there is already so much that they can look into. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I really like what I see. I'm glad that I got into this game, because I know people are very. I mean, it's fun to be like pessimistic about it. And like I know that like, there's a lot of toxic community and stuff around the game. There's a lot of problems or whatever. But it's a fun ass game, and like it was kind of cool getting into this lore kind of slowly or whatever, and it was cool just seeing these characters that I've been playing. At least the game I played the most of by far the last like year and a half. Mm-hmm. It was kind of cool seeing them in like such a big thing, and kind of seeing video games also just becoming such a just astronomically huge thing,
because this also opens up the door for other IPs to start doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. I saw not too long ago that there was some noise being made about Mass Effect being opened up to becoming like a series of some sort.
For sure, that could work. Yeah.
I don't know if there are any other games that were looking like. Oh no, they said something about Dragon Age. I know that Wheel of Time and things like a lot of nerd culture is coming into the forefront and being made into like profitable, long-standing, or hopefully to be profitable, long-standing IPs to be further explored and shared with other people. And I think that this is one of many, but given how the response to it has been almost like, apparently it's like shattered records here and there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to do more. Oh yeah, The Witcher. The Witcher was a thing. I'm not too into The Witcher, but it did what it needed to do, and more people are into the series now because of the Netflix show and things like that. So it's definitely going to give. We just need to give it time to come into its own being. And that's going to have a lot of ups and downs and all arounds, but it's definitely going to be something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think video game stuff have a very good chance of being the next big thing, like superheroes were or whatever. For like, we're just making, like, oh, suddenly these things are profitable. I mean, you see so many most movies are made off of books or some IP that already exists, and there's really no reason that a lot of video game stuff couldn't be that. Like, it's not like video games are cursed. Like, there's just no way to make good things of them. It's just they were never given the budget or the talented people to work on them. It's like. This is what whenever you really do give something. Another bad example of Jeff just
I wanted to see how Resident Evil's doing.
The new Resident Evil movie. But like, this shows, if you give this the budget and time, these things can absolutely work.
Finally, a video game adaptation surpassed Sonic the Hedgehog.
We did it. We did it, everyone. All right. Well, anybody have any closing thoughts? I think we pretty much got around to everything.
Yep. Feel good.
That was
super fun. I think that's it for me. Stan Mel, House Medarda, we represent,
sure.
Also Echo, the Firelights be coming through.
100%.
Definitely excited to see more of that, see if that shows up a little bit more. But
and Caitlyn by romance, do not fuck it up. Just give us what we want.
God.
Give us what we want. Come on.
Don't fuck it up.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they there was so much gay energy in this. This is not going to be something that is Legend of Korra style. Like, we're just going to hint at it. Like, no, I think they're going to.
No, just listen. If you let Jace, one of the most uninteresting characters in your IP, fuck, you should definitely let Caitlyn and Vi fuck. I believe 100%.
Yeah,
100%. But they'll probably be like, oh no, that's so. Think about the kids. It's a TV-14, and we depict children being decapitated and things going through their
Yordles in a gimp suit.
Yordles in gimp suits. Oh, but think about the kids. It's too scary.
Gay sex?
But gay. Oh no, can't have that.
Nope.
People being decapitated, stabbed in the eye, limbs literally removed. Easy. Gay sex. Woo.
Too true.
We'll see.
Well, thank you, Asian chat, for hanging out, telling us about the spoilers about how Seraphine's just going to solve all the conflicts of Arcane in season 3.
How'd you get into the writing room?
Oh my god! Please,
Mora, where can people find you on Twitch and everywhere else?
Oh, you can find me. Of course, at More of the Coven. I am a. Do I type it in there or something? It's just my name, and I have the same handle as I do on Twitch as I do on Twitter. You can find me both under More of the Coven. It is spelled exactly how it sounds. And yeah, I'm just hanging about. So happy to always have a conversation. Thank you guys so much for inviting me on to talk about this. I kind of knew it. I was hoping that it would happen. I was hoping I'm like, oh yeah, they'll watch the show and then they'll invite me on. But I was like, oh, maybe they won't. But it happened. So
Oh, that was immediate. It's like, okay, well, we know.
They were like, okay, we're watching it. We got to get you on.
We have to do that.
Well, happy to be here. Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And yeah, so everybody, have a good one.
Yeah, have a good one. Peace.
Take care.